Okay, friends and family, so we're back. Where are we? We're in the speaking section. We're in part two. We finished the interview, part one. We're in part two now. This is the long term, individually talking about photographs. We're going to look at that in more detail now. All right. So, how many photographs do you need to talk about? You will be talking about 2 photographs. How long do you need to talk for? You need to talk for 1 minute. Okay. So, but that doesn't mean you're finished. This is the way it goes. Okay. So the examiner gives you 2 photographs. You talk about those 2 photographs for 1 minute. When you're finished, the examiner turns to the other candidate, asks that candidate a question about your topic. That candidate speaks for 30 seconds. Okay. And then it's the other candidate's turn, who will speak for 1 minute, and then the examiner will turn to you, will ask you a question about that topic, and you will speak for 30 seconds. So total talk time per student in this part is 1 minute and 30 seconds. All right. So what do you see? This here, this is an example. Okay, you can see 2 photographs here. Okay, now go. There is one question written above the photograph. Try to focus on answering the question. Do not get distracted by the photographs. This is the objective, answering the question, friends and family. Okay, so here it is. What are people enjoying about spending time in these gardens? That's the question. Okay, so now candidates are expected to point out similarities and differences between photographs and then move on to deal with the question, answering it with reference to both photographs. Okay, so you're going to have to, yeah, you have to use all the information given to you in this task. You've got the question, you've got 2 photographs. You have to make them all work together. Okay, so tips and techniques is important to compare the photographs as much as possible. Compare. When I say compare, can you think of a word? Comparing, comparing. Whereas, for example, that's a very famous one. Whereas. Okay. Try to talk about the similarities and the differences between the photographs. Things that are the same and then things that are different between the 2 photographs. Mention one thing about one photograph and then compare the same thing with the other photograph. So this should be like a game of tennis almost, but not a long game of tennis, yeah? So comparing, contrasting between the 2 photographs and answering the question. Remember that? Okay. So it's very important to be able to speak for 1 minute. The more you do it, the more confident you will become. On your phone, you've got a stopwatch. On your phone, there is a stopwatch. I'm fairly confident you've got a stopwatch. You need to be able to speak for a minute. So when you start speaking, okay, stopwatch, blah, 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 you speak, you speak, you speak, and you try to stop without looking at the stopwatch at a minute more or less. You need to train yourself to be able to speak for a minute. Okay, all righty then. So now you obviously can record yourself too. Okay, remember that when you are listening to a recording of yourself, don't listen to yourself. Listen to the English. Because a lot of people are, oh, I'm embarrassed. Forget about yourself. This is not about you, it's about the English you are using. Okay, so now look, same picture, same pictures. Let's look at the answer I gave. Okay, so my answer is one difference is, so let's look at them. Yeah, you can see there's a man, I believe it's a man, sitting there in his garden, doing some gardening, planting maybe. Okay, now, and here is like it's a park. You can see groups of people. It might be a sunny day, bit cloudy, not important there. Okay, so these are the 2 things. What are the people enjoying? Enjoying is very important about spending time in these gardens. Okay, so my answer is one difference is that Mr. Greenfingers in the top photograph probably enjoys spending time outdoors on his own. whereas the people in the bottom photograph seem to be enjoying themselves outside with others. So there are some different things happening here. Everything you see and hear is there for a reason. Okay, so one difference is that Mr. Greenfingers, in English, if you have green fingers, it means you are keen on gardening. It means you like gardening. So we say green fingers. So I use that here. Mr. Greenfingers in the top photograph probably enjoys spending time outdoors on his own. So do we know that he enjoys it? No, we don't. But we can speculate. Speculate. Probably. You can see here I'm speculating with probably. Seem to be. More speculation. Okay, so we think. Okay, so enjoy spending time outdoors on his own. That is a fact. He's on his own. Okay, whereas game of tennis, we're going to the next picture. The people in the bottom photograph seem to be speculating, enjoying themselves outside with others. They are outside and they are with others. That's a fact. Are they enjoying themselves? We don't know. So that's why we use seem to be. Important in this part of the speaking, you need to be able to speculate. You need to be able to contrast, to compare, speculate probably, contrast, compare, whereas, seem to be, speculating, and we are answering the questions about enjoying, spending time, okay? So that's in the answer, spending time enjoying. Now, okay, so you can apply general situational topics, things of advantage and disadvantages that could be applied to any situation. For example, pair of photographs. Okay, so that's a spelling mistake right there. Not important. The important thing is, okay, things that all photographs have in common is the time. Okay, so how much time some people spend doing things. This can be applied to anything. Okay, cost. Is it more or less expensive? Okay, the man alone in the garden. Okay, is he spending money doing that? Are the people having a picnic in the gardens, for example, in the park? Does that cost more, for example? Okay, are they alone or are they in a group? So we saw this in the previous photograph. There was a person alone and there were people who were in groups. Okay, so productivity and growth. Okay, for example, the man in the garden. Is that a productive thing to do with your time? Okay, are you learning something? The people in the parks, is that productive? I mean, are they growing? How productive is that? You can compare productivity, the amount of people there are, how much everything costs. You can compare time. These are things that you can generally apply to most situations. So you have to remember that. Okay. So, tips and technique. It's very important to listen to what the other student says in the exam. Now, the reason being that the examiner will ask you a question when that person is finished. Remember, so that person then gets 2 photographs. Okay, and then that person will speak for a minute. And then the examiner will look at you and will ask you a question. And you will have to speak for 30 seconds. Okay, so remember, you can apply the situational topics: time, cost, productivity. Are they alone or are they with a group of people? You can apply these in your answer as well. Now it's time for you to practice. Here are 2 more tasks you can practice with. Let's practice. Let's go. Okay, so now don't focus on the pictures. Please don't. Look at the question. Question is the important thing. What might the people be enjoying about doing these sports? The other one, number 2. Why are the people exploring these places? Now, remember, what do you need to do? Okay, you need to find similarities or differences between the two photos. You need to speculate with probably, maybe, might, seem to be, and you need to jump from one photo to the other with a very easy word, whereas. Okay, so now let's try to look for similarities. Okay, so now remember the situational topics we can apply. Let's look at these two right here. Okay, so now alone, it could be alone. You can do this activity alone. You can't really do this activity alone. So there you've already got something you can compare. Okay, so now which is more productive? Well, that depends. This is teamwork. This is individual. Okay, so and the amount of time needed to do these activities. Well, we know that might be a game. See, listen to what I did. Might be a game, might, speculating, of what is it, 90 minutes? Whereas you can spend the whole morning riding around the countryside. Okay, so that is how you jump from one to the other using whereas, you use speculative language as well. Okay, so now you can have a look at this one. Okay, why are the people exploring these places? Take a moment. I'm gonna give you a few seconds here to look at it. Okay, so can you see similarities? Can you see differences? Okay, because why are they exploring these places? See, if I look at the bottom one, see a nice, happy, I believe, happy family right there. Okay, so they might be on holiday. Okay, they might be um, far away from city life because they want calm, they want peace and tranquility. Whereas they might want, yeah, whereas in the top photograph, people like, well, working on nightlife. They they prefer maybe splashing out, spending some money on some souvenirs, some stalls, some markets you have there. So now you can, I mean, your imagination is the limit as long as you remember to speculate, seem to be. Okay, so now this seems to be a highly competitive sport. Okay, so now this seems to be a more adventurous sport. Okay, now and these people seem to be exploring the different shops, whereas these people, this family right here, seem to be interested in peace and calm away from the city. Okay, so I said seem to be, but you've got seem to be, then might be, they could be. Okay, so you can use any of them. All righty then, very good. So now we're going to move on to part 3 in the next one. All right, so here we go.